Welcome to Backpage Blues Part 2. This is my favourite part of the week, and it's where we go through and answer as many of your questions as possible. I'm still joined by Charlie the Hurricane Skillen. All right?
Yeah, I'm a bit depressed after part one, I've got to admit.
Sorry that part one was so depressing, but you know,
let's hope it gets better.
The detail is very important, so hopefully, I'm not going to suggest that you would have enjoyed it, but hopefully you found it quite interesting. We should make a start on these as quickly as possible. Shall I go for it?
Yeah, go on, mate.
Right, Ryan Darby. Cheers, Ryan, for your question. Realistically, what do you think it would take for Jose Mourinho to be sacked?
Well, that's a nice non-depressing start, isn't it?
Cheers, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ryan. An awful lot. I think the only way in which he'll be sacked, and that's as it stands now. If the results get worse and worse, then obviously that's going to change. And you know, you always can't, with Mourinho, you always can't rule out him walking either, because that's what you sign up for. You sign up for drama, you sign up for instability, you sign up for trophies, and he's delivered all three, isn't he? I think if there's a genuine danger that Chelsea won't be in the top four come the end of the season, I think they'll look to make a change.
How early though? So what if we're 10th at Christmas?
Then I think they will make a change for the January window. I don't expect that to be the case.
No, I don't expect it to be the case. I'm talking hypothetically.
I mean, I've got two fears with this one. One, the Mourinho leaves. The other is, you know, who on earth do you bring in? Who on earth do you bring in at this stage? You know, can you really see Jurgen Klopp coming in and making an immediate impact when he's a manager that's more known for kind of building a club from the ground? I don't think he's the right man to come in and make an immediate impact. You know, unless there's no one at the club like a Roberto Di Matteo anymore. It really does kind of worry me.
Yeah.
That if Mourinho goes, I can't even think of a candidate I'd even half want.
No, I certainly can't think of another candidate. But so it's going to take a lot, Ryan. I don't think you should be worried just yet. There's a long way to go.
On that note, Johnny has tweeted in asking, what's the likelihood we will buy a big name player in January? And if so, who and in what position would you like to see?
I think the likelihood is high if this continues, if this form continues. Because there's no way that Chelsea are going to risk dropping out of the top four. That is essential. No. Chelsea will qualify for the Champions League. And therefore, if it's looking precarious around Christmas, Chelsea will buy big. And I think they'll go all guns blazing for whatever department is not performing to the level that's required.
I agree. I think you're right. In fact, I think it's an absolute certainty, even at this point, that Chelsea will buy in January. The quality of the player really depends on how bad it actually is.
Yeah.
I don't think it's out of the question that Chelsea move again for John Stones in January, although I think it's unlikely.
Yeah.
I think anyone that's cup tied for the Champions League would be an issue, but I think Chelsea will definitely buy in January.
There we go. Emma Hartley has asked, do you think we'll finish in the top four of the table?
I'll answer with one word, yes.
Couldn't agree more, Charlie. Yes, Emma, that will not be an issue.
I know you feel very strong about this. Part of the bus, which, you know, we should be doing a bit more of. Would you accept the sale of Stamford Bridge's naming rights to aid the self-sustainability of the club?
Never. No. No, that's not strictly true. Look, it's always Stamford Bridge. It's always going to be Stamford Bridge. It's never going to not be that. We will always refer to it as Stamford Bridge. In fact, there's a video that's just gone up. It's gone up we put it up on Monday. Take a look. It's talking to a guy who broke the story, a guy called Dan Levine. So if you want to know more on our feelings about that story, check that video out. But I think, look, I don't want to change the name. But equally, if all of those around you are changing the name, and we were called, for example, Stamford Bridge at the Yokohama Arena, but we were making a fortune on that and therefore keeping ticket prices down, could I swallow it? Probably, because I think the big fight was remaining at Stamford Bridge. The CPO did a brilliant thing and kept Stamford Bridge. We are playing on the same pitch that we've ever played on, one pitch. That was the big fight. This is losing a small battle, having won a massive war. So I could swallow it. What about you?
I feel really strongly. I just think we've been one ground, one name. Chelsea play at Stamford Bridge. I think you're right. I mean, me and you were always going to call it Stamford Bridge, aren't we? No matter if it's called the Yokohama Arena or you know, whatever it's called. I think there's other concessions that can be made rather than change Stamford Bridge. I'd like to think Roman Abramovich puts enough stock in the prestige and history of that name. The trouble is, if all those around you, so if Manchester City have done the Etihad, Arsenal have done the Emirates, if everybody sells off the naming rights and you don't, you're going to be left... I'm not suggesting for 1 second this is what I believe in. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
If everybody else is selling off the names and making a profit, and you don't, you're left standing, aren't you? You're left standing.
Yeah, no, it's not something I'd go and protest outside about.
What about this for a theory then? The amount of money that we're going to get is the equivalent of £200 per seat. Would you pay an extra £200 on your season ticket?
Absolutely not. But then again, how much faith do you have that would lead to a discounted prices rather than
no.
buying another Wankadrado that gets off on loan to some Italian club?
No. I think that the prices in the new stadium will go up, and anyone who thinks otherwise is living in a dream.
Yeah.
Prices will be dearer. But selling off, I'm just so happy that we are staying at Stamford Bridge.
I agree with that. I think that's the massive fight. And I think if we were to move, the name of the ground obviously would have changed anyway, and probably to the name of a Japanese tyre company anyway.
Yeah.
So I think, at the end of the day, I would absolutely hate to see it, and I feel really strongly about it, but I generally agree with you that there's probably a good chance of it happening, and there's probably worse things in the world. But I do feel massively strongly.
I hope it doesn't happen.
Chelsea,
and we'll be protesting to make sure it doesn't happen. But if it does, remember that we're at Stamford Bridge, and that was the most important thing. We are playing at our own ground.
And Stamford Bridge was there before Chelsea, and Stamford Bridge should remain there.
Chelsea Football Club only exists because of Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's important to kind of remember who came first and what the ground means to us.
Yeah, that's right.
The Blue Days has asked a wonderful question that I'm going to jump in and ask you.
Go on,
because I actually want to know the answer to this.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for your question, the Blue Days. With us off the pace in the Premier League already, do you think Jose Mourinho will start to prioritise the Champions League?
Mourinho always prioritised the Champions League.
No, I think prioritise it
over the league.
Yeah.
I don't think any club should be doing that unless they're managed by Roberto Di Matteo in 2012. I think, if you're not going to finish in the top four, you've got to win the Champions League. Chelsea always have to be in the Champions League. But what
about if you are going to finish in the top four, but you're not going to finish in the top one? What about if you know that you're not going to win the league?
Well,
and you're already in the top four.
Possibly.
Would you then sacrifice league points for?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not.
Mourinho?
Yes, I think so. Mourinho wants to win the Champions League with Chelsea. That I think that's a big dream of his.
It would be very Mourinho-esque, wouldn't it, to have this sort of start to a season and
end up winning the
Champions League and probably the FA Cup as well.
Yeah. It really would be. But having said that, I think this squad is so far away from being able to challenge on one front, let alone multiple, and playing against the best teams in Europe. I mean, how far do we look away from a Barcelona? How far away do we look from Man City even? So I think unfortunately it's a bit of a moot point at the minute. Yeah. CFC Fan 99. Which team do you like the most apart from Chelsea?
Do I like the most? Not many. On these shores? None.
No. Chelsea reserves?
Yeah, on these shores, absolutely none. I've got nothing but antipathy towards every other football club in the country. In the world, when I was a kid, I used to like Sampdoria and Lazio.
Great kit, Sampdoria.
Yeah,
great kit.
And Lazio, Paul Gascoigne went out there.
Yeah.
David Platt went to Sampdoria.
I think it's more just Italian football, isn't it?
Yeah, I kind of look romantically at Italian football.
We're very much of the age that grew up watching Italian football on telly.
Yeah. So a couple of Italian clubs I like. Often play football in a Palermo kit.
Pink suits you, doesn't it?
But no, there's no other clubs that I look on fondly on these aisles whatsoever. No. You?
I don't do second teams. It's not part of my plan.
Me neither.
Anyway.
Do you know, I do have another question, but our dear friend Glenn, who's behind the camera, is giving us the universal sign to hurry up, Rob. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to do that. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Please comment below, get in your questions. We could be answering yours next week. Hard to say it and hard to believe it, but remember, we are the champions and they are not. Go on, you Blues.